Get that going. So here we are, and welcome to Advanced Toastmasters Online. Here are some meeting tips for those who are watching after the fact. Use the mute button here to mute your mic when you're not speaking. And you can also toggle your video on and off if you are leaving your seat and you don't want anybody to see what you're doing, or if you need to, cough or do something like drink, eat, please turn your video off. Adjust your view here by pressing speaker view. This is what they call the gallery view, this view that you're seeing here. And if you want to just see on your end, just the speaker, the active speaker who is speaking, change that to speaker view. And you can toggle back and forth. It will not affect the recording. On my end, if I toggle back and forth, it'll affect the recording. Questions and notes for the speakers, please submit those through this chat button and do that in between the speeches, please. And however, if you have something that needs to be said in the middle of, let a speaker know that you can't hear them, you can do that in the chat section. This meeting will be recorded. It's our policy that by participating in our meeting, you agree that a recording will be available and publicly able to be viewed on YouTube and on our website. If you're interested in joining our club, you can go to our website, ato.toastmos.org, where it says become a member. Start there and look through that section to see our application and our club fees. And at this time, I'd like to put the gavel down and say, welcome to our club, and let's start our meeting. I'm going to hand the meeting over to Rick, who is our Toastmaster of the day, so he can read our mission of our club and start our meeting. So please help me welcome Rick Weiner. Yay.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. And as Dawn said, the mission, we are an advanced Toastmasters club which supports Maverick leaders to have more impact by providing advanced feedback on leadership skills and discovering what it means to be out-of-the-box innovative leaders. My experience with everybody that is in our little Brady Bunch grouping here is not only an advanced Toastmaster, but is definitely somebody who appreciates the feedback and learning from being here together. So thank you all for joining us today and for allowing me to be the first one to wish you a good afternoon today. My clock is dinging away noontime, so if that's bothering anybody, I'll throw it out the window. But in the meantime, to keep the meeting rolling, today Lori is going to be filling in the role of grammarian and our counter, and except for during her speech, and I will do it for that. And Lori, could you tell us what your job is going to be as grammarian? Could you unmute yourself first? That means that little thing on the lower left-hand side. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As grammarian, I'll counter, and word of the day master today, word master.
No?
Yes, grammarian is all three, right?
Yes, okay.
The word of the day today is exemplary, meaning outstanding or best in its class. We are, and to use it in a sentence, we are all exemplary Toastmasters in our Maverick Club. I will be listening for use of the word exemplary, as well as paying attention to good uses of grammar, improper uses of grammar, and your ah counter. And time permitting, I will sing the ah counter report. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lori. I'm sure you will do an exemplary job, and I'm looking forward to listening to you sing. Good afternoon, Aaron. It's good to see you here as well.
Thank you very much. It's raining here.
And Yesterday, when I found out I was Toastmaster and I saw that there were a few open roles left, I hit the email and I started saying, who can help? Doug agreed to join in as timer tonight. Doug, can you this afternoon? Doug, can you tell us your role as timer?
Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on what time zone you're in, fellow Toastmasters. I'll be your timer for today. Lori, could you mute yourself? You seem to be producing noise here. Anyway, as timer, my job is to, guess what, keep track of the time. And you can see the timing lights behind me. When you're spoken a reasonable amount of time, I will activate the green light. When you're getting close to your finish time, I will activate the yellow light, which says that you need to be wrapping up your speech. And when you've reached your full time, I'll activate the red light, which says that you should have stopped speaking.
Thank you, Doug.
And at the end, I will be giving a report on the time. For those who are speaking, make sure that you keep my thumbnail in view so that you can see the time. I will also aim to be sending a private message on time or the lights to each person. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Doug. I love the fact that you have those lights. That really makes it more fun as far as I'm concerned. And now, this brings us to our, somebody is moving things around a lot and making a lot of noise. I don't know if Lori, who it could possibly be.
Sorry.
For our prepared speakers, Lori is going to deliver the first speech today. And her speech is on Presentation Mastery Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluations, and Feedback, and it's her second speech. The speech is Saving Our Girls. Lori has just started her Pathways journey. Today she'll deliver the second speech of her second Pathways project, Evaluation and Feedback. The purpose of this speech is to apply the feedback from the previous delivery of this speech on June 6th, right here. The title of her speech is Saving Our Girls. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished Toastmaster, Lori Whitmore.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Do you have a daughter, sister, or girl in your life who struggles with depression? My daughter was a high achiever, very advanced for her age. At 12 months, she was walking and talking. She was in honors classes in 4 subjects, math, English, French, and history. And yet, I had quite a difficult time with her. When she was 14 years old, there was an incident with her babysitter, my best friend's son, which changed my daughter's life. She used to beg me, "Mama, please don't have Lou babysit." I asked her so many questions. Does he make you uncomfortable? Does he touch you? Does he tell you to keep secrets from me? All kinds of ways to try to figure out, is he hurting her in some way? And she always said no. When my daughter was 17, she did a personal growth workshop for teens. One of the processes they did was about sharing secrets. She came home and told me that Lou, the babysitter, had sexually violated her at age 14. My precious daughter had been violated. I let her down. I was supposed to be her protector. I carefully watched her father, her uncles, grandfather, any male visitors we had, boyfriends even after I left my marriage. I was always on guard, protecting my daughter. I even boasted to my friends how lucky I was to have a male babysitter for my kids, especially for my son. I was livid, uncontrollably mad, angry at my best friend. I wanted to mangle her son and put him in jail. My daughter did not want to relive the pain. I respected her wishes and did not press charges against him. Little did I know this was just the beginning of a very long journey of saving my daughter. I blamed myself for years and cried for years, really decades. In high school, she'd been displaying signs of eating disorders for a few years, taking more than 5 gym classes a day, playing with her food with her fork, but never eating it. So proud of her size 0 body. She used to say, "Nobody can get into my jeans." As I educated myself on this subject, I learned that my daughter was a textbook case of girls having eating disorders following a sexually abusive incident. Her anorexia was so severe, I had to take her out of high school in a desperate attempt to keep her alive. The textbook symptoms continued for another decade as she began self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. She was a stripper for a few years, telling me how she loved being in complete control while men desired her and wanted her but could not touch her. I struggled for years trying to figure out how to continue to show my daughter love without enabling her. Instead of cash gifts, I would give her gift cards for coffee or gasoline and instructed our family members to do the same. I had so much shame that my very smart honor student daughter did not even graduate high school, did not go to college, and was a drug addict and a stripper. I went to a Jewish Al-Anon type group for a few years to give me emotional support. They kept instructing me to do tough love with my daughter and that I was still enabling her. But I trusted my gut, and I continued to show her love and compassion while also walking that tight line of helping her financially, yet careful not to give her money for drugs. She went to doctors, inpatient mental health hospitals, drug clinics. Nothing worked. She shared suicidal thoughts with her brother and me. She often said she was in so much emotional pain that dying would be a relief. Honestly, I don't know how I got through every day. These were very difficult years. Why do you think I turned gray at age 37? I frequently worried that my daughter was going to end up in a dumpster. I tried to mentally prepare myself that my daughter might not live past age 21. Then I thought, maybe not past age 25 or not 30. After she turned 30, though, I started to have hope that maybe she might outlive me. Finally, after decades of abuse, my daughter went clean. Apparently, after attending the 10th funeral of one of her friends, she finally woke up and decided she did not want her brother to go through so much pain. Mind you, the first funeral wasn't enough. It took 10. My daughter was diagnosed as bipolar and now takes medication to help her with her depression and manic episodes. Thankfully, she's no longer using drugs. She recently celebrated her 41st birthday. I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am that she is still alive. I have a dear friend whose son committed suicide at age 25. His mom still struggles, and I'm grateful my daughter spared me that pain. She's so appreciative that my love for her has always been steadfast. She could always count on me. I never turned my back on her. Though it took several years, she finally learned to love herself as much as I love her. If you have someone in your life struggling with depression or addiction, love them. Keep loving them. Your love will help them learn to love themselves. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lori, for that very difficult speech. Appreciate your willingness to open up and share your message with us. Now for our second speaker. Dawn will be speaking today. In May of 2017, Dawn Nacera decided that she wanted to start an online Toastmasters club where advanced Toastmasters could go and grow together as maverick leaders. Today, Dawn will be sharing the current status of our club, followed by a question and answer session. The time is 4 to 6 minutes for the presentation, 8 to 10 minutes for the question period. Dawn, take it on.
Thank you, Rick, and fellow Toastmasters. The first demo meeting for Advanced Toastmasters online took place on November 29th, 2017. During that demo meeting, I shared my vision and personal reasons for wanting to join or wanting to start and charter this Advanced Toastmasters Club. Today, I called this press conference to address where we are at the 9th month mark, what has been done to date to help our club charter, and I'll address some challenges that we face moving forward as a club. As far as membership, currently at this time, we have 10 paid members. Those members are the following: Andrea Sanger in Arizona, Angela Peterson in Nebraska, Doug Thiessen in Ohio, Dawn Nocera in Ohio, Francisco Palacio, and I think he's actually in Indiana, Jim Adams, Kentucky, Lori Whitmore is in Boston, Patricia is in Ireland, Richard Weiner is also Massachusetts, and Tammy is actually in Nebraska, and Angela is actually in Dayton. So in order for our club to charter as an advanced club, we must have 20 members who are dual members, meaning that they are members of another Toastmasters club at the time they submit their application to join our club. We have one person who wants to join after we charter because will only be a member of this one club, and that's Sandy Yeager. I submitted our application to organize a Toastmasters club to Toastmasters International on July 16th, 2018. On that application, Trisha Grow and Pamela Landers were submitted as our club sponsors. Andrea Sanger and myself, Dawn Nocera, were submitted as club mentors. So we'll be continuing for the next 6 months. On July 18th, we received confirmation that our application was received, and we were assigned a club number of 0704-9935. I'm still awaiting for an official notice that our application to organize was processed. Some of the things that we've done to date to move this chartering process along are the following. Trisha Grow has sent well over 60 individual email invites to club presidents to visit our club. Dawn Nocera, myself, has handed out informational postcards at a District 40 conference with the permission of the district leaders at that time. Rick Weiner and Lori Whitmore invited Toastmasters on their visit to Ireland, and Francisco Palacio informs Toastmasters of our club when he's at various other Toastmasters events and promoting other clubs that has online attendance, giving people an option for joining either this other club that he's promoting or ours. He's a member of both clubs. These are just a few things that I'm aware of that members are doing, and I know that we're all doing our best to invite people. Oh, and I also am remembering that Sandy has invited Angela, and Angela's inviting another friend, and we have, or Tammy invited, it's a web of invitations, and it works. Email invitation templates and postcard images are available for you to invite other advanced Toastmasters to visit our club. And here's a few challenges that we face moving forward is continuing to invite new guests. I mean, just to stay motivated to keep inviting them. We're all advanced Toastmasters, and we know what we have to do, just staying motivated and excited to help people get here and see how great our club is. Summer attendance has been kind of low, but that's okay. Our meetings always seem to work out well. We're well organized. We have great leaders in the Toastmasters positions, and everyone steps up to volunteer for roles. But the challenges, I think, moving forward are, we do meet at lunchtime, so meeting and finding the people who are available at this time is probably one of our biggest challenges, is getting the word out that we are a club that meets at lunchtime on the East Coast, midnight in China, and somewhere in between, probably our biggest challenge. And at this time, I would like to just open up the floor for some questions. If you have any questions about chartering or anything else that I didn't mention. And yes, so just unmute yourself if you have a question. And Doug, if you could time this portion of the meeting as well.
Hi, Dawn. I have a little bit of a question.
Sure.
Being an online club, we are an undistricted club.
We are.
So how is International supporting the effort of an undistricted club? And as far as the dues are concerned, I understand they having the same dues structure for us. Are they planning on doing anything around that? And is around having the club involved at all in the international convention in that manner?
So I can only share what I have knowledge of, and I can even say that there might be other people here that have more information. Trisha might understand more about what's going on at the international level. I know that we, as an undistricted club, they just made our fees equal. I have no idea what that means for us as a undistricted club, whether or not they're actually going to give, financial support back to us as an undistricted club to have officer training, or what their plan is with that. But there was some decision made, and it took them a little over a year, I think, since they made that decision to actually enforce that. And what was the other part of your question, or did I answer all of it?
You answered. I think the other parts of the question you probably wouldn't have the information for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Are there any other questions? Lori?
Dawn, how many people regularly participate in the club who are not members?
Oh, that's a good question. So Aaron regularly participates in our club, and he is a non-member, but he has also addressed, he has said that he would be willing or interested possibly in joining, but it is midnight for him where he is. So as far as who attends regularly, I think Erin is the only person at this time who attends regularly who's not a current paid member. And Trisha also, but Trisha, I did put this in my official notes for the meeting. I had it in there, I took it out. And Trisha also has agreed that she will join. So we have kind of a real deficit of, I think, 10 people. So there's actually 10 people who are members, and then Trisha would make that 11. And if Erin joined, there would be 12, and then we would have a deficit of 8 people before we can actually charter. Good question. Angela.
Do we have a timeline or a deadline since you filed the intent to charter?
Well, I will say that I think that either Rick or Lori, because I know Rick has chartered many clubs. I don't know that there's an official time limit that Toastmasters International gives you to actually charter. This has been one of the most challenging parts for me and Andrea, who has been here since the beginning. So Andrea helped me through my HPL project, which was so long before we even started the first meeting, is that my intention was to start right away. I just thought everybody in the world would be excited about an online club because I'm so excited about it. I've been dreaming about this for years, it seems. And that fantasy and the reality hasn't quite met up yet. So I would like to say, yeah, next week. And I have said, we're going to charter January 2018. Okay, we're going to charter by March, because there were some other people were wanting to get their DTMs, and they needed to have this under their belt before a certain time. So all of those time limits have passed. Good question. And yes, that is one of the frustrating parts about this process for me personally. Doug.
On that same sort of question then, since we are taking a lot longer than you expected, do we have a game plan for making this happen in a new time frame?
I am open for suggestions on a game plan. There has been a lot of work involved in getting kind of like the website together, getting the structure of making sure that I'm doing the technology thing on our end, and then getting together a team, which we have sort of in place. So I'm very open and happy to hear any suggestions you have and any motivations, because as the more motivated you are about having a deadline, the more easier it's going to be for me as a club.
Right.
Thank you. Lori.
Well, I have some out-of-the-box suggestions.
I love those types of suggestions. They're my favorite.
certainly meeting every week for those of us who are involved is fun and enjoyable, but I don't believe it's serving the purpose of chartering.
Okay.
I don't have as much experience as Rick, but I feel pretty strongly that if a club just kind of continues along without chartering, it will take longer than imposing something that almost pushes to chartering. So my out-of-the-box suggestion is, I don't know that we're spending enough time on, as much time as we're spending preparing for meetings and running meetings as we are on chartering. If we started to have meetings every other week instead of every week, and on the off week held an hour session that was more like an officers type meeting of what have we done so far, what can we do, and we were brainstorming with each other, that might move the chartering process forward, even though we'll be having fewer Toastmasters meetings.
I love that idea. I just felt a huge, the world just kind of aligning with that. So we can definitely put that on the table for other suggestions and other brainstormings. Doug, I see your hand up. Doug?
with regard to Lori's suggestion, I think that given that we take a half hour or 25 minutes of mic check and somewhat social time, I think that we could use some of that time before the meeting to discuss marketing plans as opposed to meeting every other week. I think that would probably be a better use of our time. I'd like to see this club meeting on a weekly basis.
Yeah, my combined thought is I do think that a meeting weekly, as far as a chartered club, like once we charter, I think that has to continue, because that all of the clubs that I know that are very healthy do meet every week. So I think it's a good idea to look at and maybe discuss more of whether or not we want to, in that pre-charter period, maybe look at what Lori's suggesting.
Or have an additional meeting once a month that just focuses on chartering, and do 50 minutes before each meeting, as Doug suggested, for weekly check-ins on the marketing. So that hybrid could work as well.
Yeah, good. That's good. Any other questions before we wrap up? I think I've got a good
I think Aaron has a question.
Aaron, go ahead and unmute yourself, Aaron.
President of the Comparative Communicators, which is recently appointed. I was thinking about any possibilities of having a joint meeting with other online clubs so that we can expand the membership.
I can't hear Aaron.
Okay.
What Aaron said, I can repeat that. I think I heard you, is he suggested having a joint meeting with another online club to expand membership. Is that what you were suggesting, Aaron? I can't hear you.
You hear me now? It's better,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I was saying that is that possibility whereby you can have a joint meeting with other online clubs to expand the membership and actually gain people's attention that your club existed in the online world, because that will be one of the criteria or issues that's related with the public relations or publicity.
Well, I find that that's a great suggestion, and there's something kind of unique about our club. We are in the online world, but most of our club members, this is their only online club. So we're not just made up of online, strictly online club members or members who are looking for that. So we'll take that into consideration. And at this time, I'm going to give the timer or the meeting back over to Doug, or no, Rick, our Toastmaster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the very timely speech. I think that we all have a lot of interest in the success of this club, and that is your vision. So thank you for bringing that vision out to us, giving us this report of what's happening in this club and in the online world. Aaron, with your more experience with online clubs, I appreciate what you have to say as well. I just think that this is definitely the positive way to make things happen, is to keep us aware and to check in and go to the next step. So thank you so much for your speech, Dawn. This has been, so far for me, a very interesting meeting, and I've been really enjoying this. And now our topics master, Trish, is going to challenge us with some topics. Please welcome Trish.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to try something a little bit different today. So, the premise is that we are back in time, right before the big flood. Yes, I'm talking about the ark. And I am Noah, and I will give you an animal. You see, I miscalculated, and there's only one more room left, and there's 5 different animal families. How do I choose who is going to join us on the boat? When I call on you and you agree to participate, you'll choose a number between 1 and 5, and I will private message you the animal group you're representing. You will not tell us what animal you are, but plead your case to Noah. And hopefully by the end of your 2 minutes, we will figure out what animal type you are. So let's try this out. Let's see who will be my first animal group. Angela, would you like to try?
Okay.
All right. Pick a number between 1 and 5.
I've got to go in the middle. 3.
All right. I have sent the animal group that you are representing. You will now have 1 to 2 minutes to convince Noah to take you and your wife, or vice versa, if you're male, to come on the boat.
Okay. Well, I deserve a spot on this boat because at this moment in time, I am the most important animal in history. I am the only animal that everyone knows about. I am guessing thousands of years from now, if you look back and talk about biblical times, I will be the first animal that comes to mind. You can't leave me behind. You can't kill me because I'm too important. I'm not saying this because I'm egotistical or think a lot of myself, but I do have that place in history, and that place in history needs to be preserved. So please, please give me the room on the boat.
Thank you. All right. On the count of 3, I would like everyone to put in the chat what animal you think Angela was portraying or asking to join us on the boat. 1, 2, 3. And okay, yes, she was indeed a snake. Good job. I thought your hints were very well done. All right, next victim, now that you know how to do it.
I don't know that that's how to do it.
Doug, 1 to 5, but not 3.
Well, I was going to choose pi, but you probably want integers. I'll take 4.
All right. You'll have 1 to 2 minutes to plead your case for you and your family to join us on the boat.
Noah and fellow denizens of the animal kingdom, I am an exemplary animal. I'm an apex predator that helps to make sure that other animal species stay healthy because I hunt. I hunt for the weaker animals in those herds that I select. I choose my prey not to attack the most strong and fast and fleet animal, but instead choose ones that are weaker. By being a predator, I actually help those other species because I can't eat enough to decimate herds of animals. Instead, I help to cull those that are weaker so that the strongest can survive. And by doing so, I can roam the savannah as king, but still know that I am serving those other animal species in a way that helps the entire ecosystem. So I must be on the boat. And I promise that as long as you feed me on the boat, I won't be hunting the other animals that are living there during this flood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug. All right. In the comments, 1, 2, 3. What animal type? Everybody got it.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent job. All right, I think we have time for one more animal group. Aaron, would you like to attempt?
Okay, I'll try.
All right, you have 1, 2, or 5.
5.
All right, so you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to plead your case for you and your family to join us on the boat.
Fellow kingdom animals and Noah, I'm one that deserve the most on the boat because I am the natural being hunted in my species. You know, when there are other great animals like the lions that actually eat a lot of many hunted animals, we are just living in the swamps and the ponds. We have no threat to the environment. We just sometimes try to attract our loved ones by raising our voices. And we sing nice lullabies to make sure that the world is very peaceful. But we want to make sure that the world is a lovely place with us. And we definitely deserve a space because we don't take up much space. We are very tiny. We don't eat up too much space on that ship. We just hop. We just hop all the time. And sometimes we just love leaves. And we are very friendly. Sometimes we may be poisonous, but we are just protecting ourselves. We are loving God. We love you so much. But we don't pose any threats to anyone else. We are very friendly. So being the friendliest creatures in the planet, please take us in. And I'm sure when you take us in, we will sing so much lullabies. We will grow in shape just to please you, to humor you, to make your day enjoyable. I hope that you can take us in, Noah. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I thought you did an excellent job. All right, in the chat, 1, 2, 3. What animal is Aaron? A Kermit. That's a very specific frog, but yes, it was a frog. I will now hand the meeting back to our Toastmaster of the day.
I thought I hit the button. Thank you for the beautiful table topics. I learned something new today. What a great way to do that. That was so much fun. I appreciated that a lot. And now for I think the most important part of a Toastmasters meeting are evaluations, because we never grow if we don't get feedback on what we've done well and what we could use improvement on. Our general evaluator, Trisha, please support us with evaluating the meeting.
Yes, thank you. We'll first be calling our first evaluator, who will be evaluating Lori's speech, Andrea. Andrea, would you please give your thoughts on Lori's speech? And then will I be handling round robin, or does... Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Lori, thank you for letting me evaluate you yet again on the same speech. I did see some improvement. We talked earlier about some of the things that we wanted to see you do differently this time around. You did a much better job with volume control. The last time you were very loud. This time you controlled that so that we could listen to it and understand what you were talking about, though you continued with your strong gestures, making sure that we could see what was going on. I really appreciate how you do that and how you make us involved through those gestures. You also did a really good job. You always do a good job of
even though this was a personal event in your life, I would say it's the storytelling of it and drawing us into that story really helped us understand, to engage it, to feel the emotion of it, to know that this was an important thing for all of us to be thinking about. As you, there were some times you'll see I just did it while you're thinking, and you look up to the side and we lose contact with you. I'd like to see you look more at the camera. You also had a piece of paper that covered your camera a little bit on the side. And it wasn't overly bad, but some of your gestures got lost because of that piece of paper there. I do appreciate that you did put your notes on the side so that you had something you could refer to, but you weren't looking down all the time, although you did have a couple of those too. Overall, you just did a great job. I'm so impressed at how well you communicate. Your experience shows. I can tell that this was, as when you did this speech the first time, you were preparing to do this as a contest speech. And I can tell that you worked at this speech and that it's something near and dear to you, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Lori. Doug? Oh, sorry, Trisha, back to you. Sorry.
That's okay. It's easy to get in your head who's doing what, even though we have our names on there. I would like to ask anyone that would like to, oh, yes.
I'll do it if you want me to.
Oh, to lead the round robin? Okay, go ahead.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to say to Lori? Rick, you have to unmute yourself. Rick, you need to unmute yourself.
There we go. I was having trouble with my hand to unmute myself. I think that part of what you said I do agree with. Lori was delivering the speech, a very difficult speech, and often looked away from the camera, whether it was reading or thinking or whatever was happening, was doing one of the things that we always tell people not to do is during a meeting, looking up to think of your words or looking down or wherever. If we're going to put our notes on the screen, have it so that people think that we're just looking straight at the camera and not looking at anything else. To me, that was a little bit distracting. So I would suggest finding a way to have your notes, if you're using notes, in such a way that nobody even knows that you have them available to you. That's my only feedback.
Anyone else have a comment? I can't see all of you. Anyone else? Angela.
Hey, Lori. This is obviously the first time I heard the speech, and I appreciate sharing the story. Knowing that it is a speech that had been done before, I thought it sounded super rehearsed. And there were times telling a personal story, I would have expected a bit more, a little bit more, I'm not going to say emotion, but a little bit more sincere and less, these are words that I've written and I'm going to say the way I've said it before. And I know that doesn't quite sound right, but hopefully understand what I'm trying to say. The other thing I wrote down sounds really, really petty. But your room is white, your hair is light. I would have liked a colorful shirt. Just something to make you stand out from the room. Otherwise, the entire screen was all these white light colors. So something to consider next time you speak. But thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Anyone else have anything to add? Okay. I do want to make one quick comment on the looking up. I think that when you're doing a difficult topic, I I see this more often, even in a club. People tend to look up more because they're trying to gather their thoughts from the emotions that are going on. So I do recognize that as something that does happen when you're doing a more emotional speech. Whether or not you are showing all that emotion is a different thing, but I think that when you're thinking, you might look up a little bit more during an emotional speech. So I appreciate that, and I think that you just might want to think about that for the future speeches. And thank you for doing your speech. Back to you, Trisha.
Thank you. Yes, that was basically my thought, as well as the times that Lori looked up and to the side were particularly emotional areas in her speech. So I thought it was more an emotional detachment, almost trying to take yourself away from that. That was just my opinion. Next, we have our second evaluator, Angela, and she will be evaluating Dawn's speech.
All right. Dawn, thank you so much for giving us an update on the status of the club. Being the newest member of this group, I really appreciated hearing where we're at and hearing a little bit about what the plans are going forward. This project was the press conference. So part of what was to evaluate is how this would come across if it was on TV or in front of a group of people. I thought you were very professional. Your attire, your appearance is very professional. Your words were very well chosen. You had lots of facts and dates and numbers, and that was great. I'm sure it took time to pull those out of your notes and put them together to present. A couple comments or suggestions for improvement. If you're going to list all the people who have paid dues, either make sure you have their locations handy or maybe leave that off. You could have just as easily said, we have 10 paid members, run through the first names. This represents people from Nebraska to Ohio to Ireland. A good reminder for all of us, if you're speaking, it's a good idea to mute your cell phone. And I think there were 3 or 4 times that I got, I'm not even sure what to call it, technical difficulties, I guess, where you froze for a minute. And I'm not sure if that's something on your end or on my end, or if it's just a function of Zoom. I don't know. Another suggestion would be during the question and answer to run it the same way we do the round robin. You said, if you have a question, unmute yourself and ask. If you have a question, raise your hand and then unmute yourself. Something to only have one person unmuted at a time, and then a reminder to remute that speaker after they've asked the question. There was a lot of feedback in that question and answer period that didn't necessarily need to be there. But I thought you handled the questions very well. If you didn't know the answer, you recognized that we do have other experienced members in the club who do have the answers and do have that knowledge. And I appreciated that recognition. None of us have all the answers. During your speech, you didn't smile. But when you got to the question and answer, you did. You're obviously more comfortable there. My final suggestion would be to end with an action plan. And on that note, I am going to suggest that you end your speech with, as a result of the feedback received during this press conference, let's meet at 11:45 next Wednesday to discuss marketing ideas. So overall, great job. I really appreciated it. And with that, I will open it up. Does anybody else have feedback for Dawn? Lori.
I really enjoyed Dawn's speech, and I think it was very important for our club. So I appreciate that she took the time to go through the process with us and the history. Angela referred to these periods of time. There were Wi-Fi hangs, so something to look at on Dawn's end about that, because it happens at every meeting actually when Dawn speaks. I also noticed Dawn looking at the ceiling, and I find for myself as well, I don't know where exactly to look to make it look like, I'm going to have to practice this with my husband, because when I look up a little at the camera, maybe that's when it looks like I'm looking at the ceiling. But I think it's hard to figure out exactly where to look to know that it appears that you're looking at the audience. And one other thing was I could tell that Dawn was reading during her speech, so I'm not sure how we can use our notes in a way that the audience can't tell. So I could see the eyes darting side to side. So I thought I'd mention that for feedback. But overall, I appreciated Dawn's speech. I thought she led the group discussion really well. Thank you, Dawn. Back to you, Angela.
All right, thank you, Lori. Does anybody else have feedback for Dawn? No. All right, great job, Dawn. I'll turn it back over to our general evaluator.
Thank you, Angela. Well, I believe it's time for reports, and then I'll give an overall view of the meeting itself. So first, I would like to ask Doug for our timer report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Our two speakers, our first speaker was Lori, who spoke for 7 minutes, 57 seconds. So that's almost a minute over time. Watch out for that. Dawn had 4 to 6 minutes to give her report. She spoke for 5 minutes, 35 seconds. Very well done. And 8 to 10 minutes for questions. The total time there was 10 minutes and 13 seconds. So she did a good job in cutting off the questions right when things were ending. Well done. Our table topics. Angela spoke for 1 minute 7. I spoke for 1 minute 42. Erin spoke for 1 minute 48. In the evaluations, Andrea spoke for 2 minutes 15 seconds, and we had 3 minutes 23 in the round robin there. Angela spoke for 3 minutes 45 seconds, so watch out for that, Angela. And we had 1 minute 52 for the round robin. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. And next, we'll be hearing from our grammarian, Lori.
Madam General Evaluator, for the word of the day, I was a little distracted. I heard it used by Rick and by Doug. Were there any others that I missed? Okay. And for grammarian, I liked the use of Brady Bunch by Rick. I didn't hear any incorrect uses of English. And for the counter report, Rick had 1 2 so's, 1 and 1 repeat. Doug had 1 good job. Don had 1 1 so, 2 buts and 2 ands, and 3 repeats. Trisha had 1 so and 3 ands. Angela had 1 in her topic. Doug was clean, and Erin had 1 so, 1 but, 1 and 1 repeat. Evaluator Andrea, I heard none. Same for GE Trisha. Angela had 1 1 but, and 1 and. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Lori. I always enjoy you're singing the report.
And I
It's very
kept track
unique.
of Lori's.
Oh, okay. We have another report then.
And Lori had one butt.
Thank you for that very short report. Okay, so my job as a general evaluator is to give a brief overall view of our meeting. And although it's late, I would like to say it was exemplary meeting today. As always, it was fun, and I thought we all do a really good job of helping our fellow speakers and Toastmasters with constructive criticism. Hi, Julie. And I don't have much I can add as a general evaluator because most of the points I would have brought up are already covered. So I'll just very briefly share my notes. I thought that Lori, I had heard the first rendition of the speech. I thought, again, like most everyone said, I thought this was an even better presentation, and that I shared about what my feelings were when you're looking off the screen. Maybe it's an emotional detachment because it is very personal to talk about the subject. I really enjoyed your vocal variety. I thought, again, it was much easier to understand than the first rendition because the time that you used the vocal variety, we could really hear it. So I thought you did an exemplary job. And Dawn, for your speech, again, we all are interested in this. We want to know where we stand, and you very clearly told us where we stand, what it looks like, what is needed for us to continue to charter our club. So I appreciate that. I thought you handled the questions very well. And again, to repeat what others have said, is that if you didn't know, you said, I don't know, but I will find out, or we could ask so-and-so, and they would probably have a better idea. So you know where to go, even though you don't particularly know the answers. But I thought you handled the questions very well. I thought, I have to admit that the table topics was not my original idea. I sort of borrowed it from another club, but it was the first time it was ever done online, to my knowledge, so I thought that was fun. But that is the end of my general evaluation of the meeting. I will hand it over to our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Very well done. And we are running a bit late. It's exactly 1 o'clock right now. So what I would like to do is turn the meeting over to Dawn to work on scheduling for our next meeting. Would that be what we would do, Dawn?
Yes, that would be great. We can adjourn the meeting though now, and then I'll look at the agenda after we adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
You gonna stop the video?
Yes, I will. Thank you for reminding me. Oh, maybe.